Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. So today is part 2 of the Music of the Middle Ages video series. This is the second and only other part. In the first part of the series, we discussed sacred vocal music of the Middle Ages. So if you missed that video, definitely go check it out because this video won't make quite as much sense out of context of the previous video. In today's video, we are going to talk about secular, non-religious music, as well as instrumental music. So let's get started. Humans have been making music of some form or other basically forever. In the previous video, we talked about sacred music, but secular music, non-religious music, played a huge part in people's lives as well. The problem with this, though, is that sacred music was really well notated. The monks and nuns were really good about writing things down and keeping an archived record of music. Whereas common everyday people oftentimes weren't even literate. They didn't know how to write, so they didn't have a way to write music down, nor did they have the reason to write things down because for the most part, music was passed down through oral tradition. So we don't have very good records of music from the Middle Ages in terms of secular music, but we do have some ideas, which we'll discuss in this video. We'll start today's video with a discussion on monophonic chansons. Chansons just means, it's just the French word for song, and monophonic just means single melody line. If you've ever heard the expression traveling troubadour, the word troubadour comes from 12th and 13th century France. It's basically like a traveling poet musician, a higher class person. If you had ample leisure time, it usually meant that you were wealthy. So the poet musicians of the day were generally wealthy people who had time to spare writing poems and music. In general, what you'll find written down for these chansons are the melody and the words, and that's it. No notes about instrumentation, no notes about rhythm. So the researchers who look into this music have to fill in a lot of blanks and do a lot of guesswork. I found a recording that I'll share with you in a moment for the only notated monophonic chanson by a woman. It's called Un chanteur mère de ce que novoria. I'm so sorry. That translates to something like I am obligated to sing. And it's from the 12th century, written by the troubadour, the Countess of Dia. Monophonic chansons were generally in strophic form, which basically just means that for every verse of words, the music and the tune stays exactly the same. And that's true of this chanson as well. We're not going to listen to the whole thing for you to get a sense of that, but it's just something to note. It's also completely monophonic with no accompaniment whatsoever. But when you're looking at the chansons of the Middle Ages, you'll find a blend of recordings. Some will have instrumental accompaniment and some won't. So we've talked about monophonic chansons. Now let's talk about polyphonic chansons. In the 14th century, the Roman Catholic Church began slowly losing its grip on the European population. So secular music started to really thrive. And this new era is referred to as Ars Nova, which just means new art, and the era prior to it as Ars Antiqua, which is old art. At this point, polyphony became so complex that music notation was forced to develop alongside it. Pitch notation started becoming more exact, and rhythmic notation really started to evolve. Another feature of these late chansons is that crazy melismas started to fall by the wayside. The text became a little bit simpler with only 1 to several notes per most of the syllables in a piece. We also started to see an evolution away from the dissonant fourths and fifths with the addition of much more modern sounding thirds and sixths. There were still lots of like weird fourths and fifths and stuff like that, but they did experiment with newer intervals like thirds and sixths. Puis qu'un oubli by Michaud is a good example of polyphonic chanson. The biggest difference between this and the monophonic chansons we talked about already is its complexity. This chanson is written for 3 voices, and all voices move independently. That's the definition of polyphony. One thing to note is that the voices don't actually have to be human voices. They could also be musical instruments. It's unspecified. I'm going to leave a link to a YouTube clip over on the blog, and what you'll notice, hopefully, is how much more modern sounding this chanson is, even though it still sounds like really old. It doesn't sound modern, but compared to the stuff we've been listening to previously, this is where you can really start hearing the inklings of Renaissance and Baroque music. Instrumental music didn't even exist in the church at this time. The only instrument that was actually allowed in the church was the organ, because apparently organs are sacred, but no other instruments are. Instrumental music largely came from common people's everyday lives. It would be used for dance, it would be used for public events, instruments would be obviously used as background music for singers, and so on. Unfortunately, like secular vocal music, instrumental music is not well notated because generally the people who played this music didn't find any point in it. They largely base their playing on improvisation. So what good is written music gonna do you if you're just improvising? And the population was largely illiterate, and finding the means to write music down was difficult. So there's not a lot of great records of this music either. Dance music was the most common type of instrumental music in this period. And dance music of the Middle Ages was functional. It was meant for dancing. Whereas later down the line in the Renaissance, but especially the Baroque period, dance music evolved into something that you would listen to more so than dance to, and became even more complex. But the dance music of the Middle Ages is pretty simple because it's meant to be functional. Another interesting thing about instrumental music in the Middle Ages is that the instruments weren't standardized. So what I mean by that is, with a classical symphony, for example, you'll have a line of music written specifically for the violin. You'll have a line of music written specifically for the trumpet, and so on and so on. Whereas in the Middle Ages, they would just have like a line of music written down. You could use whatever instrument you had handy to play it. The only distinction made with instruments was for outdoor instruments and indoor instruments because of volume. But aside from that, you'd basically just pick up and play whatever you had kicking around. We'll listen to an example of an estampie, which was a popular dance at the time. This is called Retrouve, and it's from the Robertsbridge Codex, which was a music manuscript from the 14th century. To sum up our discussion of the music of the Middle Ages, here are the key developments we saw in music at this time. We saw the development of notation, both pitch and rhythm notation. We went from simple monophony, one voice, to complex polyphony. We went from single texts to multiple texts in sacred music, so polytextuality. Melismatic singing eventually gave way to simpler singing, so one to several notes per syllable. And we went from no rhythm, basically at all, to the use of rhythmic modes. And that concludes our two-part video series on the music of the Middle Ages. I've been waiting to do this video for quite a while because I just think Middle Ages music is really interesting. I really enjoyed when I had to study this for an exam, so I thought it would be fun to share it with you guys. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out the cards at the end of this video if you'd like to join me on social media and Patreon, and I will catch you in the next video. In the last video, we talked about the sacred music, and